So welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today we're taking a look at the Great War. And this is the Centenary edition. This is from Plastic Soldier Company Games. Plastic Soldier Company does a lot of 15mm and 28mm plastic model kits and miniatures for things like Flames of War or Bolt Action, like tabletop wargaming, but they're branching out into more board games and things like that, so we're very excited about that. This is from Richard Borg, as you can imagine. This is in the Command & Colors Memoir 44 style game. So this is World War I, and Centenary Edition is 2018 is when this was released. Ooh, let's get this upside down. And it's obviously for end of the war, 1918. So let's take a quick look inside and see what we get. So it's a two-player game, 45 to 90 minutes, and it says age 14 plus, but I'd be surprised if you couldn't get younger players to play this, if it's that dissimilar from all the other Command & Color style games. So this is a big box, and it is a very heavy box. Okay, inside we've got unit summary card, and if you look here, so this is where you start to get into the Plastic Soldier Company. You have these great units here, and they're physical units. So you've got infantry, looks like you've got a machine gun squad here, looks like and you've got a mortar squad here, and then you've got special personnel. This guy's a bomber figure, looks like he's throwing a grenade, and you've got some off-board artillery. You don't have artillery on the board because of the scale. And on the back you've got terrain effects chart, and again you can see it's the hexes that we would expect from this kind of game. Another version of that, so both players can have one. And then we have rules and scenarios. This is a very thick book. I just want to draw it in, just a great artwork here. Love the artwork in this one. So this is 51 pages, and there are 16 scenarios. So skip all the scenarios because those don't count. You're looking at 35 pages of rules. And this looks like it's a lot of summary and stuff in the back. Really, rules-wise, you're looking at probably 25 pages. Components, there's like a big board. And this is very typical of the Memoir 44 rulebook. Looks a lot like this. Not necessarily as many pictures as I might like, a lot of just text and stuff, but very easy to digest. Not the heaviest of war games. This is going to be one where you can play with the family. Oh, this is... wow. So this is like almost a... so this, you can see here, it's got the texture on it. But this is really shiny. Almost like a high gloss board. And it's double-sided. Nice. And just like all the other boards, it is very basic to start with. So this side is the green side with the grass, and this side is the late war brown side with the no man's land. You can see that catches the light. It's actually pretty nasty. This is a very shiny board. So I'll have to figure out how to take decent pictures of that with some angles and bits and pieces without getting the glare. We have here a ton of punch cardboard. And it starts with hexes, so you've got trench lines, some markers on the other side, just different shapes of trench lines. So obviously this is going to be where you've got long lines on both sides, things like that. These look like craters, barbed wire, more trenches. This is cool. This is probably artillery targeting. If you look here, you've got the hex, looks like you overlay hexes on the board maybe, and you've got roll of d6, and that's where you might get shift. Interesting to see how that's used. More craters, more barbed wire. And so these are those off-board artillery units we saw. More trenches, a lot of trenches. Okay, something other than trenches, yay! Terrain effects chart. Let's consult you. This is a hill. This is just a hill. And then we've got some buildings here. Might be a big crater or outcropping. More trenches. Lots and lots of trenches. This is going to be a very trench-heavy game, I feel like. Okay, now comes the cool stuff. Let's start with dice. Ton of D6s. 5 of these. And these are the little wooden ones. These are wooden. Very basic. Might change these out for some of my Flames of War dice that have cool symbols. And then we've got, these are what you would expect in Memoir 44, where you've got the men, and the flags, stars, explosions, skulls. So these you're going to roll X amount of dice, and you're going to do killing men, or doing grenade attacks, or making them retreat. So that's very familiar if you've played Memoir. Roll those away. And we have a lot of cards here as well. Let's get these sorted out. There's a couple of stacks. Well, just kidding. It's just, yeah, there's a few stacks here. Okay. So these are just where you place your victory medals. If you remember on Memoir, you had like a place on the edge of the board where you put them. Here, you just have like an off-board holding box. Okay. So here we have a lot of cannon fire, a lot of bits and pieces. Okay, so you have these barrage cards, and those have, alright, these ones here. Let's get them all nice. Okay, so Telestex cards. These ones have that target symbol on them. These are for doing barrages. You kind of play these with things. Lots of different units here. Lots of different special bits and pieces to do. And you play those at times with your command cards, and your command cards are exactly what you would expect it to do, right? So it's do an infantry assault, you do a recon on the left, probe on the left, pierce on, or probe on the right, attack in the center. And that's based on these divisions on the board, which it's kind of hard to see this play. There's these dotted lines that divide the board into 3 sections. So you play the card that says attack in the center, with 3 dudes. So 3 guys in any of your guys here, you attack with them, and they can only be in this lane. That's a lot of how the game functions, is you're playing this card, you have a hand of those, and you're playing those, and you might get stuck with only cards that do the left, and you need to do something on the right, and that's where your kind of fog of war comes in, because you can't do what you need to do. And last but not least, here's what we all came for. It's the little figurines. Alright, we'll start with the gray ones. Just kind of open up and pull these out a little bit. Alright, let's get some of the film on so we can kind of see a little bit better. Alright, so there's a bunch of these guys. And these are 15mm scale. Like, when these are great looking. I'm trying to get you so we can see some of the shadow. You've got these are Germans. They have a decent amount of detail for being as small as they are. Look at this guy throwing a honeycomb out there. Oh yeah. And just like Memoir, you have a bunch of them, and you'd set them up in a hex. So I'm just going to set up a few in this hex so you can kind of see the scale of what these might look like on the board. And you got to remember, right? You're going to be in some trenches, so that's 4 dudes there. A little bit small in that hex, but I imagine there's going to be a bunch of them, and then if you were to say, okay, well these guys are in this trench here, well now you can line them all up in that little trench nicely. I think that's pretty cool. So you might have long lines and just lines of guys on the board. I think that's actually really neat looking, but they're not huge, so you've got to put them all on. I think that they fit in the terrain was obviously a design feature, but I think that's really neat that they did that. And those are the Germans, and then you've got allies on this side. In this instance, I think a lot of these are British, just based on the color and shape of the helmets. And these are like in kind of a red tan. Let me just, what's up? Here you have a guy with a mortar, and he's all on one base. This is attached, so that's nice, that's one piece. That's pretty cool. Let's see if I can't find a guy with a machine gun for you. Yeah. We got a guy feeding the machine gun. He's He's a belt loader there. Let's see. Show me the machine gun. Here it is. Ooh. And it's kind of difficult to show because the shadows are terrible here. But he's actually kind of led down. His legs are going over the tripod, like he's sat on there. This is actually a pretty cool action pose. And you imagine him with a squad of guys. They'll be gunning people down in no man's land. But that's it. It looks quite drab on this side, but remember the other side was nice bright green. Got all those hills and stuff. But it's World War I. That's what you're gonna get. It's a lot of dudes and a lot of trenches. So that's everything that comes. I believe this is just empty in here. Yep. That's everything that you get in the Great War Centenary Edition from Plastic Soldier Company Games. Again, a very simple game. This might be one I play with Kelly. Because she's played Memoir, this is a similar type of system, she's going to pick that up very easily, but one that I'm excited to play Grant with as well, because sometimes you just want to have fun. These games play very, very quickly, 45 minutes to an hour, and to me when they say, oh, it plays like an hour and a half, that's really, you play 2 games, because this game you're supposed to play once, and then you switch sides and play again, and the aggregate score is who wins. And you do that because some of the scenarios might not necessarily be balanced, but they might be historical. And so you play one side, and then can you play the other side better than your opponent did? And that's where a lot of the game comes in, and I think that's really fun. I have a good time doing that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, they got 3 medals. When they play that side, can I get 4? And so then you're pressed for time, and then you start to do some more risky things, or come up with a more bold strategy, and I think that lends itself to having a really fun gaming experience. So this one I'm very excited to play for. You'll see a review of this coming here very shortly from us. But that's it. That's a Great War from PSC Games, and I've been Alexander from theplayers8.com.